Hello, and welcome to Divisive Issues, the foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where two fans and two non-fans talk about controversial and noteworthy comic books and comic book history. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
And we're back for Ultimates 2, Part 2.
Yeah, we're back in Iraq. Boom.
Baba booey, baba booey.
Are we?
So do you have anything to say before we jump into it, or should we just jump into it?
So listen to last episode. It wasn't a year ago, so we don't have to recap it. But basically, the Ultimates are going to the Middle East.
Yeah, and that's where the story opens, in the Middle East. Captain America, they do that thing.
Look at your fucking map, Darryl. That's Afghanistan, not Iraq.
My bad.
No, he's perfectly capturing the George Bush mentality film.
Yeah.
Darryl's in the right mindset.
Yeah, it's all the same country, right?
Yeah, and they do it so Captain America infiltrates a surgeon base, and he does a thing where they put guns on him, and he's like, living personnel kid. But
This time he actually is Quicksilver.
Yeah, it actually makes sense because he's waiting for Quicksilver to save him, and Quicksilver comes in and pulls him out just before he gets shot. So the first time this actually makes sense, this confidence, overbearing confidence.
Yes.
Then they bomb the base after Quicksilver gets him out to get the giant men to stomp on it.
So now at this point they have a whole squad of giant men that are just like these giant men that just smash through this whole base. They're grabbing planes.
It's funny because when I read this page, there's no words on this page. When I saw this page, I was like, most of them are black. Is that commentary about who we're using for our the experiments?
like the white people start the wars and then we make the minorities fight them for us.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
And so then Scarlet Witch disables all their nukes, and then Captain America takes all the prisoners out, and they're like, "This is all for our protection. Move. This is for your protection, people. Everyone move!" And there's one kid just staring at him scornfully, and before he walks off.
It's a nice dead-eyed stare that he gives.
Yeah, I wouldn't say scornfully.
Yeah.
He just looks like,
I mean, there's clear scorn in his intent. But he's dead-eyed in the actual expression. So.
Yeah, the expression's way more just like, you ruined my life.
Also, this is not just an American-led thing now. It's like you see the European Union superheroes, Captain Italy, Spain, and Britain are all there. Also, they can fly?
Yes, they flew in the last one too.
How do they fly?
Thor can fly, magic belt, who knows? Everyone can fly.
Everyone can fly.
Captain America can.
Yeah, it's funny. Captain America's the only super soldier who can't fly in this fucking story.
But Captain America also got his powers in the 40s.
Yeah,
he's got them now.
He's the old model, the non-flying model.
Yeah.
So you have a bunch of people that want to are asking let Thor go, and Tony Stark.
Free my boy Thor.
They're not asking, they're protesting.
Yeah,
please let him go.
Thor and Tony talk. It's basically a rehash of what they said before. Thor's like, "You're naive," and Iron Man's like, "No, it's cool. We got this. Thor, stop being crazy." And Thor's like, "Fuck you. I'm not crazy." And Thor looks like a lot more like Chris Hemsworth now that he's short hair.
And he's like, it's Loki. Loki's doing this, and he's like, "Please stop."
Yeah. And so then we cut to Hank.
Hank
meeting,
and Jan hanging out, the exes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp together again for lunch.
And it starts with her saying, "I can't believe I'm having an affair with my ex-husband." And he says, "Since when did lunch constitute an affair?"
And she's like, "Since I lied to Steve about it."
And I think this is an interesting dynamic because obviously Steve is a better human being. But she has no chemistry with Steve compared to Hank.
I also just like the idea. It's like where breakups aren't just 100% clean, where you're just like, "Oh, I'm done forever." Yeah. Especially if it's happened within the year. Sometimes you can still think it's like, we did have good times. Like, this was really nice.
Yeah.
Especially when you're compared to the present boyfriend who's just an old fuddy-duddy.
I think that the dynamic between them is written pretty well, where they're both snarky, and they have some good quips between them, better than most Millar quips, I think, where he's complaining about Captain America, and she's like, "Well, you're brave when he's not around," and he's like, "Oh, Jan, I'm brave behind everyone's back." And then he makes some jokes about how he
jokes about how Bucky and his wife people wet themselves and
when they sneeze because they're so old. Yeah,
and that's what I mean, because being with somebody that long, you will have a dynamic with them, and even though Steve is a better person for Jan, he is different from her in a lot of ways. So I think it's an interesting dynamic here where Hank is a piece of shit, but he can interact with her better than Steve can.
Yeah, and one of the main things she points out too is all those people are dumb. They're all a bunch of just jarhead idiots, and Hank, even though Hank's an asshole and obviously he's been the villain more often than not in the series, he's still smart.
Yeah. And so we have a kind of fucked up relationship. So we cut to the only healthy relationship.
Before that, we have one scene of people are listening in and watching them. So it keeps building up a lot of intrigue of who's the betrayer? Is Jan the betrayer? Or is that just Shield being overprotective? Who knows?
Yeah, and it cuts from a fucked up relationship to the only healthy relationship in the story, which is Hawkeye and his family. So of course that ends right away. 3 pages. We have 3 pages of his fucking family.
One thing I want to say about this is when they show the first picture of his whole kitchen, you can't see a fridge, and that's because his wife is the fridge here.
Oh.
How long were you saving that one? Were you just
I
like
just
ready?
thought of it. I
Oh,
just thought
good
of it
one.
just now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Leave
so-
the genius. Podcast's over.
So Hawkeye has wife and kids, and it seems like they're a perfectly healthy couple, which is interesting because Hawkeye is like a cold-blooded murderer up until this point. And then,
Let me put a vent shaft in his head.
Yeah.
and then what happens is they come in, shoot his wife, shoot his son. Everyone's dead. Hawkeye.
They don't just shoot his son.
It's really brutal.
Yeah.
They kill his wife right away. Then there's like this
It's
big
the classic
fight.
thing where she opens the door and there's the red dot in the middle of her forehead, so you're like, oh, I guess she's done. And then people bust in through the window and start shooting him up. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess Hawkeye's dead too.
And Hawkeye grabs like a bunch of like kitchen appliances, like steak knives and stuff, and he kills a bunch of them.
No,
and
and
then
spoons.
he's like,
And
yeah,
spoons.
yeah, and
Can
spoons.
someone? So this Ultimates 2 threw me off on Hawkeye's power. I thought he was just a really good accuracy.
He
guy.
is.
He is.
People talk about this. Mark Millar can't tell the difference between Bullseye and Hawkeye.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
Yeah.
are they the same guy? I guess.
No,
Okay.
Hawkeye is an archer. He's an expert archer. He's not a fucking. You point it in his hand, he can kill you. That's Bullseye. But
Okay, because I was like, he kills people with things that in this story that I'm like, that's not how physics works. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how accurate you are, certain things
The
cannot
dull
go.
end of a spoon isn't gonna do anything.
No, if you throw it hard enough, yes, it will.
But anyway,
He went through their bulletproof vests.
Yeah, he throws very hard, Phil. What are you not understanding about this scene?
the thing that's so brutal about this is so he kills a bunch of them, and then he's like holding his son, and he's like, "Go call this special number." Like obviously they have like a panic room, and like they have like contingency plans for this.
Yep.
And then they kill his son in his arms, like gun him
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, it just shows Hawkeye's like face as he squints as his son's blood splatters all
It's
over him.
like it's so unnecessary.
It's really brutal.
Especially because we've only seen them in like one panel up to
and
this
then,
point.
then we have somebody with a gun off panel. Hinted at it's the traitor. And Hawkeye says, "I'm gonna kill you for this," but they're like, "Haha, how you gonna kill me?" And it's implied that Zen's implied that whoever the traitor is, he or she shoots him in the head. End of
Yeah,
issue.
it's implied that Jarvis shoots him in the head.
No splash page this time. Mark Millar's learning.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's probably
now
because
it's a
they're
new
like,
issue.
we're not
It's me.
putting his son's like blown open head on a splash page. It's like, dude.
I wonder if it
That's
was
true.
originally there, an editorial shut it down.
They're like, okay, like enough.
The next issue opens.
Next issue
with-
ends on a splash page. This had to be like, because of all the violence, they probably had to change stuff.
Oh yeah, it opens. Next issue opens with Hank Wasp in bed with.
She's not in bed with anyone. Yeah, she comes outside and Steve's hanging out on the
Yeah,
balcony.
so I think this scene's really interesting because Steve's sitting on a balcony and he's like, "When were you gonna tell me that you've been cheating on me with Hank?" And she's like, "We were only talking. It's like that's not the way it works. You can't be this possessive." And then Steve goes on some rant about how like it's because you hate yourself. Like he's of course Captain America.
You
he's
won't allow
perfect.
yourself to be happy. Somebody treats
Yeah.
you nice for the first time in your life, and you have to go and make an idiot of me.
Yeah, and she's like, well, maybe I just don't want to sit around reading the newspaper and listen to Bing Crosby all day. And he's like, that's not a good reason to sleep with anybody. He hurt you. She's like, I didn't sleep with him, not yet anyway. And then he looks at her and then jumps off the roof.
He kills himself. No, he just super soldiers off. Like,
Yeah, he-
I mean, that's like, wait,
Without his shield, too, so that gets rid of that idea of, like, he lands on his shield to brace for the impact.
No, we see his feet. He just lands. He jumps off the roof of a building. He just lands, and is still like just hopping around, like he's parkouring all over. I don't know. It seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
But then it's just like an autopsy, like a crime scene, forensic stuff at Hawkeye's house.
They also, what's crazy is one of Hawkeye's kids was like a baby, like an
Yes.
infant in the crib.
Yeah, they
his
really
daughter.
drive it home. They're like, yeah, all his wife's dead, the kid's dead, the other kid's dead, the baby's dead. It's like, okay.
They don't know. They can't find Hawkeye's body. They presume
Yes.
he's dead, but he's missing. That's why I was like, you can't, like, I was kind of okay. I wasn't really okay with them not killing the Hulk, because I thought that would be really cool. It's like, you kill the Hulk because he's so dangerous, you have to kill him. But then his eyes flash green and he's still alive, walking around. I'm like, okay, whatever, he'll come back later. And I'm like, okay, good. You killed Hawkeye. You're showing that there's stakes in this world. You can't even kill goddamn Hawkeye. He's gone. Of course, you're not just gonna be like, oh, his body was in the dumpster outside. It's like, no, he's still alive somewhere.
And like I do think he has a cool scene later on, but for the most part, he doesn't change the outcome of the story that much.
No.
And it's like it makes the fridging of his family that much worse when it's like he doesn't die with it too. Like it's now used purely as motivation.
Yeah, it's just to motivate him. Like he had no personality until this point. He really he had no personality.
Yeah, he did nothing.
Yeah, he did nothing until this point.
So what? His personality is now has a dead family.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much his death.
Yeah.
Not really, because he doesn't even like. We'll get into it.
That's his motivation, I guess, later on.
Yeah, I guess. So Nick Fury, he gets a message from like Shield HQ where they're analyzing the security
Because
footage.
there's apparently like extra cameras over the original cameras, just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
Then they're like, they're shocked, and it cuts to Captain America talking to Bucky, and Captain America like breaks down. He starts crying. He's like, I don't even have any friends. She says like I should hang out with people my own, like more like us, but like I'm more like you guys. I don't have anybody else. There's this touching moment where Bucky and Steve hug.
Yes, he starts crying, and then Bucky's wife says, "Oh, give him a hug, you silly old fool."
She says that she's saying it to herself back in the kitchen, which is I like that because it's like she knows what to do before Bucky does, but Bucky still does the right thing eventually anyway. So it is a very touching moment. It does take back where it's like Millar can't write human interactions.
He can.
But it's like this is one of like the last ones of
of his career.
Pretty much.
So then Nick Fury is just like he's on a helicopter. He's heading to find Steve Rogers. He's like, how could we be so stupid?
Again, someone's crying and he's able to write them. He doesn't write people normal, like in their normal day to day. He doesn't know what that's like. It's only when they're like yelling or crying
or
like that he's like,
on someone.
yeah, he's like, now this is my element. Upset people.
Yeah. I guess.
Anyway.
So Nick Fury is on a helicopter heading to Steve Rogers. Like, how could we be so dumb? Like we're making a superhero team, and he just happens to show up at the perfect time. Oh God. And it keeps cutting between Bucky and Cap. They're now walking through the graveyard, visiting some of like their old partners.
It's implied that they figure out that they believe that Steve is the traitor based on the surveillance footage.
Yeah.
Yes. And then in classic Millar fashion, like 1 million robots and 1 million flying guys show up, and they hit Steve with like there has to be like 20 different tranquilizing
At
darts.
And this is why I like the second half. Like despite all the story's faults, it goes very anime repeatedly, where the characters are like, "You suck. How can we think you're Captain America? You suck shit. All these super soldiers are being shoved to Captain America, and then like you fucking piece of shit." And then Fury goes up saying, "You fucking bitch suck." And then he's like, "Just Captain America's just being shit all of them." Like his anime strength just starts swelling inside.
Yeah,
of him.
he literally has like so much tranquilizer in him that like 35 elephants would have died.
Yeah. And then like they finally take him down after like Sly said this long fight. They get a bunch of helicopters involved that rip up the whole cemetery.
So, like this is again like about Brian Hitch. It could be like also the directions he was given, because you have an Iron Man robot that flies up, and then the next scene is like him targeting him, and then like I guess he drops a chopper on him.
No, I think he
flies into
him.
it, but it's not clear whether he's dropping something or if he's flying into it, because
because the chopper is on the ground already. He's trying to get into it.
But you can't tell because you only see the flight path. You only see the flight path, so you don't see if it's missiles he's firing or if he's flying into it.
But like the action-y kind of fight scenes are supposed to be page turners, and if you have to stop and be like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's the problem. When it was targeting, I thought he was firing something. I didn't think the Iron Man guy was flying down himself as a ballistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we just get a quick montage of all the different Ultimates getting alerted to the fact that Captain America has been arrested for the murder of Hawkeye and his family. Mm-hmm. And it ends with Steve passed out in front of the statue that was his memorial statue from when he was dead in, I guess, Calverton.
Yeah. Which is, I don't feel bad for Captain America in any of this, really.
That's the thing, is like, if this was a critique, it'd be good, but he's still supposed to be like the hero. So it's not.
That's the funny thing.
I mean, you can't feel bad for him at all. He's walking with his friend Bucky, talking about how he can't figure out this new world. He's trying to do the right thing.
But like
he isn't an old-fashioned asshole, but he does feel like a human being in this issue before this happens.
I don't know. Maybe I just have a lot less sympathy for people like this now.
Yeah, but like I can't counterbalance that with in the very beginning of like in the last issue where it was telling that kid it's like move or like get shot.
Yeah, that's
basically.
the thing.
I'm not like oh, this poor American war hero. I'm like, this is just like, I don't know. This is what happens when you keep ceding power to this military organization.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I think it's one of the most effective issues Mark Millar ever wrote in his fucking life.
I mean, I could agree with that and still think it's bad. But I mean, like, I get what he's going for. It's just like having him like yell at poor refugees right
They're
before.
not refugees. Like, they just took over a nuclear facility in another country, right? A rogue state.
But
And
I
the
thought
people
I thought that guy was a kid.
But you're ushering these people out who were just shooting at you. He's not beating them. He's not.
So in the combat situation, you're gonna be fucking serious like that. Like any soldier's gonna be like.
He's
that.
like, you're gonna move because I don't know who the hell anyone is. So you're gonna move, and that's it. He didn't curse.
I mean,
at them.
again, that doesn't make you sympathetic. I'm not like, oh, this poor military. You feel for the kid more than you feel for him.
I'm looking back, and the crowd that he's yelling to move have like old people. There's like women and children. I don't buy it. I don't know.
I think any realistically willing soldier would act like that. I like.
Yeah, I
He's a
agree.
soldier.
I don't think that's sympathetic. I think that's realistic. I don't think you sit there and you're like, oh, this poor brave. And plus, in the beginning too, it's like him talking to Jan. That the first thing he does is he runs away from the conflict. Like I don't feel for Captain America that much. Like I can kind of feel for like him and Bucky, but like him.
Wait. I think it's fair to say it doesn't register with you, but I don't think it's fair to say that it couldn't register for anyone. I think
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's fair.
He wrote it as best as he could. Like that scene was as much as you can get somebody to care about this Captain America as you could have possibly could. I think.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm on Darryl's side. But I think that is very fair. So.
Yeah, if it registers for you guys, all right.
Hashtag Team Cap. Hashtag Team Edward.
So now Phil's up.
All right, so we start off in location unknown. Hello, Hawkeye, feeling drowsy? That's just what I assume he sounds like. There's some creep. Hawkeye's alive, obviously. And there's some creep.
Obviously.
Some creep giving him injections. And he's just making fun of her wife, calling her fat, the dead wife. And I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah,
I hate this.
This is what I talk about the anime-ification of the comic in the second half, because everyone's like, "Oh, you fucking piece of shit! You suck! We got you!" But it's so weird here because now it's mixed with Mark Millarism. He's like, "We killed your wife. Your wife's a fucking slut. She's a fucking cow. She's dead
It's
now."
terrible.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you're angry because I said this. I bet if there was a knife or a gun or a safety pin lying around, I'd be dead already." And I'm like, he's not Bullseye.
He says that he basically just like stole the secrets from Hawkeye's head, which is how they're gonna bring down the Ultimates.
Yeah,
We have the security codes we need, and then it cuts to Jarvis sipping his tea.
Yeah, and then Jarvis is like, how's our little Black Widow this morning? And then fucking slut. And then,
It's like, and we're really. This is what the dialogue's like. I can't. We mentioned it last episode. I want to make it clear
I mean,
here too.
it's a little more nuanced. Like they only called her a slutty minx that one time.
yeah.
But like,
He has a tone, but he's not calling her a fucking slut.
yeah, but they did call Hawkeye's wife like this, like fat cow, and we're glad she's dead, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
enough.
Um,
And it's this thing Millar does. Like, I feel like he does this when he talks about like any woman.
Yeah.
He has some character just disparage them.
Which is why I find it was funny when Tony like says to drop the sarcastic tone Jarvis because he's too tired for his unique brand of misogyny today. Where I'm like, everyone in this is like misogynist. I don't think it's just Jarvis has a unique brand of it.
It's unique because he's gay and doesn't want to fuck everybody. I
I
guess.
guess.
Like he's the only character here who isn't like that.
the most LGBT representative character ever.
Oh, of course he hates women, and that's why he's interested in men.
Yeah, I don't know.
anyway, he's like, make us breakfast. I want quail eggs or something. And then he goes in to see Black Widow in bed. And
Yeah, Tony goes to see.
Yeah,
his
Tony.
wife.
Oh,
to
one
see
thing
her.
I want to point out, she mentions here too that they mentioned in the last part is that for her to operate the Iron Man armor that he gave her, the Black Widow War Machine armor, she has nanomachines in her blood.
Yeah, nanomachine, son.
And she's also wearing web-based underwear, which I thought was like an okay touch.
Oh,
It's
Sure,
corny and dumb.
I like that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
And so she's like, "Can we snuggle?" And of
Also,
course-
there's a painting in Tony's room that is a woman in a shirt,
Poison
like
Ivy.
she's wearing a top, but she has like the biggest nipples ever. It's a really weird thing to draw.
I don't think that's that out of place.
yeah, I thought that was art.
Okay, anyway. We gotta get out of this room. That was one page.
Okay, so she's like, "Can we snuggle?" And she really means bang, and I'm like, "This is not realistic." And then
My wife would never fuck me.
I thought that was okay. They start
I know,
snuggling.
no, I was a joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can't tell because he's so bad that we're not sure where it is realistic and not.
And then they're like, the Ultimates are meeting in Nick Fury's office, and they're like, is Captain America's fucking traitor? This does not sound normal. And then they're like, what the hell just happened? Shields are down. And all the shield helicarriers fly out of the sky, face down,
fall out of the sky, face down. I guess.
It's basically the end of Captain America 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, all just crashing into the Shield building.
The
killing everyone.
It was one of those
Triskelion.
things where I was so confused because I naturally assumed that they were on. I thought the Triskelion was a Shield aircraft
I'll
carrier.
be
I
honest,
didn't know it was a
I
building.
thought so too.
So
I thought too.
so we had this page of all these aircraft carriers all fluttering about, and then they're crashing into something. I'm like, the Shield in the sky? Are they falling above? I couldn't tell.
No, that is a fair point. They should have had established a shot for
Yeah, I actually did this exactly. I was about to make fun of Darryl, but I'm like, no, I did that too.
Well,
Yeah, for at least this issue, just be like, here's the building.
In defense of this book, they've been so economical about the things they choose to put on panel, and they never waste a single panel. So I see why they don't have room to tell us where they
course.
are.
Yeah. And so we see all these green men flying,
God.
saying, Phase 1 complete, move to... I don't know why I'm making the robots. Move to Manhattan for Phase 2. And then Black Widow and Tony Stark are still making out, and he's like...
We get a close-up panel of their tongues that's super
Yeah.
gross.
It's
Yeah.
it's pretty good. And he's like, we should go check that out. It sounds like World War III. And she's like, no, come on, just relax. And then she pulls out a gun and puts it to his head. And fucking Jarvis comes in and he's like, Master Tony.
She pulls out a gun from under their pillow, so they just banged and he didn't feel a gun under the pillow.
Yeah.
Maybe they
that's a good
always
point.
keep it there for safety.
But then he would know. He wouldn't be surprised by that. I guess he'd be surprised by you taking it. I don't know.
He doesn't look surprised. He looks really calm as she's putting a gun in his eyeball. But Jarvis comes in, he's like, we're out of ostrich eggs, and then she shoots Jarvis in the head.
Yeah, so all that setup for Jarvis was well paid off. He just dies after being gay for.
Hey, show some respect. That's Loki.
Yeah, and then she says, thanks for the laughs, comrade. That's how you know she's evil. She's saying comrade.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I guess you never let go of the Soviet
And
Union.
they get these big,
Yeah, we got-
doofy robots walking through Manhattan that have,
not just
a
a
pilot
few,
in
it's
their
like-
cock, and...
Yeah, it's like the sky is filled with them all falling down. The Shield building's destroyed. Quicksilver managed to pull out 3 floors worth of people before the building got destroyed, and so it's actually pretty cool. He jumps onto one of the robots and disassembles all their screws and stuff, so they just fall apart. And Scarlet Witch's power is to change probability.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just have to change the probability of something bad happening to them. I'm like, how does that work?
Well, we hinted at it in our Captain Marvel episode. Scarlet's power is always bullshit. It never made funny sense. The best version of her powers was in the fucking X-Men Evolution, where it was basically just telepathy, and telekinesis, basically, just fucking general magic, but making a fucking probability.
That's why a lot of writers focused on the witch side than her mutant side, where she's
Yeah.
learned magic.
I almost like the idea of her being a being of almost pure chaos. Rather than her being I'm going to change the probability of this, she can see what it is. Instead, it's just she creates just chaos and changes stuff without control. I like that idea.
That is kind of what she does, but it's still kind of weird.
It's just weird for her to be I'm going to change the probability of something bad happening to all these soldiers that are getting attacked.
Yeah, I guess the Ultimate Universe she can control, but in the regular universe she just throws hex bolts, and the hex bolts just make random shit happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this fight's happening.
Oh my God.
This is crazy. It's all the super soldiers of the U.S. and the giant men of the U.S. dropping in to fight the invasion of Manhattan with these robot men and these green men flying, and it's just this huge splash page of all the giant men. There's green super soldiers flying through their ears.
It's
and
the
killing
blue
them.
one are flying through the green one's ears because they're the green ones are the bad guys.
Are they?
No, the giant men are on America's side.
Yeah, they're American.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Because they're green. I naturally assumed they were bad.
That actually is a good point, though. They should be called because how you gonna fucking tell who's on whose side? But
So
whatever.
basically, the blue guys are the super soldiers, the green guys are the giant men, and the black suit guys that are kind of greeny.
Also, everyone has these weird frills on the side of their body for the suit, both the good guys and the bad guys. So
Yeah.
it's
That is
it
a good
makes it
point.
harder
Yeah,
to
that's
tell
a really
them.
good fucking point.
And this is when I was I knew growing big was not a great power, because if you're just still human consistency, you're very puncturable.
Yeah, that's why it's funny because regular giant man can switch back and forth, but this ultimate giant man has to stay giant and change clothes as a giant man. So he's vulnerable as fuck. Just being
I was thinking actually when they were taking over whatever country, if they took a tank round in the stomach,
Yeah.
they're dead.
go
They're
through
fucking dead.
them?
Fucking
yeah.
dead.
So we see Thor, who's like, oh no, father, see what happened while your gaze was elsewhere? Someone stole the lightning. And we get this guy with sunglasses and earrings wearing all the Thor tech, but this time he's holding a hammer and sickle.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, and he has sunglasses on because it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Avengers, everyone's getting their ass kicked in America's side basically, and it ends revealing Loki or Gunnar Grognum, what the fuck his name was.
Oh, also, we do see a blonde woman yell for Scarlet Witch. Pretty sure that's Ultimate Carol Danvers. Just, fun little fact.
What?
Oh, yeah?
Are you fucking with me?
No, I think it is, because she was one of Nick Fury's, second in command.
She is in a military outfit.
Oh yeah.
But
It doesn't matter at all.
I know that's what I'm
It's
saying.
funny because I saw that page and I did not. I was like, "Am I supposed to know who this woman is?" I guess I was.
So then here's the big reveal.
We see
it's
Loki, and he's like, Loki saying, this must be very satisfying after the Americans, what they've done to your country, Colonel. And we see Darth Maul say, the world is safer.
He has Darth Maul's saber, but he looks like a red Captain America, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, the world is a safer place now that this new Roman Empire has been restrained. And so we see Los Angeles falls, Chicago falls, the nuclear facilities are under control, under this enemy control. Washington, D.C. is being invaded. Manhattan's... Apparently they buried the Baxter Building, and somehow the X-Men got taken down too.
Mm-hmm. I also like that their airships, like the enemy airships, are kind of like blimps because you always have to be able to make them look a lot more like old and evil than like America.
Yeah.
Like they can't just be American bombers.
You also
and-
tear down the fucking Statue of Liberty because it always happens every fucking summer.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're
Like
I
in
love it.
Transformers 3, they had Megatron rip off the Lincoln Memorial and sit in place of it. They always do that, and some people be like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
our statue." Fuck you.
To be fair, I think you would do this if you took over America.
Yeah, you would. But
I
they
think
always
like
do this-
you take down symbols to make a symbolic thing. Like we knocked down the statue of Saddam Hussein
Yeah,
immediately.
exactly.
after
But
we
it's
took
just
over.
funny. It's just they always do it in summer blockbusters, so the audience can get pissed off.
Yeah.
And it turns out that basically all the other governments in the world were like, "Fuck you, America. We have our own superhero team and our own army of super soldiers."
Yeah, so it seems like it's Russia, China, North Korea. They're pretty vague about the Middle East. I think they say Syria and not sure who
And
else.
I like that the team that they get together is kind of like off-brand
Of each,
like
of each
knockoffs, yeah, of like the Hulk, and then you have Iron Man, and you even have the Wasp, which is the lady that controls like bees.
Yeah.
And at first, because I was like, that's dumb. Like, what? They have exact off-brand knockoffs, and I was thinking, I'm like, they probably would have. Like, if you see a team of specifically like 5 people, you'd probably come up with the same 5 people, but like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I just want to say is I kept it close. I played it close to the chest this time on telling the boys here if I thought this book was good. Because I used to really love it. And at this point, here's the twist. I think this book is bad.
Really?
Yes.
Shocking twist.
And the reason why is because I remember that the mystery of Is Thor Crazy going much longer than this. But as soon as the conflict starts, it's revealed, no, he's not crazy, Loki's real.
This is issue 9.
But we really only dealt with that as the main conflict in like a couple issues in the first volume, and I remember
I think
spending.
every-
No,
I
hold
thought
on.
that-
I remember spending more time debating it. I feel like there's only a couple scenes where we actually like talk about it, and I wanted more mystery on is Thor crazy before the big fight started, but as soon as the big fight starts, you immediately know, nope, Loki's real. I wanted more mystery further into the conflict because I thought it would have been more interesting to see how do they deal with like this wild card that they don't know if they're crazy when there's still like a big fight. But once the fight starts, it's the lines are clearly drawn. These are the good guys, these are the bad guys.
This is issue 9 out of a 2-volume series, and I honestly felt they did too much of his Thor Crazy in this story arc. I'm fine.
Oh
with
no,
it.
I felt like that. Yeah, it's prevalent.
I actually skipped over that last scene because I felt it was repeating what we saw before. I might think Thor's crazy. Thor's like, you're fucking naive. Like, they really are repeating scenes. Like, this is when you...
No,
when
but
you
it's
start-
all dialogue. There's very little plot about it, in my
No,
opinion.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Issue 9 of a 2-volume series.
I thought it was the perfect amount.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's-
I kind of agree with you, Ryan, where it's like the difference here is like at least with this issue, I kind of like the idea of Loki only being seen by like the bad guys in a way where it's like, okay, he is real, but only the bad guys know he's real.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just the leaders, it looks like.
But nothing ever
Yeah, I like that
happens
too.
or comes of like, is Thor crazy or not? It's like whatever.
I like that the readers get revealed it before the other characters do, and then into
Sure, because
there's
that's like a dramatic irony
Yeah.
where it's like you know that Thor's right all along, but no one else
That's
knows
fair.
Thor's right. But again, that doesn't. There is no conflict. of is Thor crazy or not.
Yeah, and I mostly just feel like from here on, it's pretty much just a big fight forever.
Yes. I think it's a fucking really cool fight.
Okay,
so.
that's fair. Like, you can
do
like
this.
that. I was pretty bored.
Spoilers, so
rereading
since Ryan's
this.
like making his big announcement, I think this is better than Avengers the movie.
Okay, well, okay.
Avengers the movie and better than Civil War. So the best thing I've read from Mark Millar so far.
That's interesting. But
The
okay,
Civil War book?
So yeah, Civil War book. Civil War book better than Avengers the movie. I think the movie should have been more like this. This made me
That's
like the movie less.
very interesting.
I actually liked this a lot, except for a few things.
But we'll revisit this at the end. But this is just the moment where I was like, okay, what else is going to happen? And it kind of just fights. But we'll go through it now.
Okay, so the next issue picks up and it goes back in time a little bit to 2 months ago in the Middle East, and it shows like Captain America pointing with his finger, and he's like, "I said move," and it reveals that the little kid that he had said that to is the actual, like, he turns into the red villain with the cap and the Darth Maul lightsaber. I guess
Red Captain America.
He's apparently sick, and then someone's like, I know someone who might make him stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where we learn the lineup. We have the Abomination, who's basically just like Smart Hulk. We have the Crimson Dynamo, who's fused with his Iron Man suit.
Yeah, so he's the Rhino and Iron Man.
Yeah, we have the Swarm, who controls bugs. Hurricane, who's a speedster. The Schizoid Man, who can reproduce himself and have like a bunch of, like dupes. And then we have, what do they call him? The Captain America Middle East guy?
I don't think I ever call him. He says like I don't want a fucking super dumb name.
Oh, okay. So the name of the team is the Liberators.
Also, can I say that when they said we made Schizoid Man from the cells from James Madrox, I was like, I think I know him. Is that Multiple Man?
Multiple
Yeah,
man.
Yes, it is.
To be fair, there's not a lot of people that have the multiple man power when you think about it. There's like a lot of speedsters out there, but I feel like there's not a lot of people that it's like, I'll just make more me.
Yeah, it's a very underutilized power in comics.
Yeah. And so he says that they made progress. They made these guys, and there's this weird offhand comment about the power suits that they gave like the green guys kills them in 3 days.
in a month.
The random grunts. So I think that's a decent touch because it shows like this power can't just be. They can't just have guys stronger than all super soldiers and all giant men forever. Just have it for these guys are super powerful, but only for 30 days before they die. So
I don't know if this is supposed to be an analogy to like suicide bombers. Like if it's gonna be a political critique of the Middle East,
It's also like, how would you match the power disparity between the U.S. and these countries? It's like they have to do something really
drastic.
drastic.
Yeah.
Like suicide bombing, I guess.
So we go back to like the invasion nowadays, and it shows that
it turns out Ant-Man teamed up with the fucking Liberators, the evil army.
Yeah, and they're using Ultron as like police robots that are telling people where to go because their goal is not to like devastate America and like kill everyone. They want to keep casualties to a minimum. The American people shouldn't suffer for the crimes of their government.
And there's a couple little touches in here that I do like Hank Pym didn't know that it was going to be that scale. He's mostly using his Ultron robots just to like help people and be peacekeepers. And also the Swarm is like, maybe we should give them free elections. Yeah. I understand there's been some contention over the legitimacy of their current Caesar. Just because, I don't know, maybe he lost the popular vote.
Yeah, which I really love that touch of like liberators coming into America and being like, maybe we should give them actual democracy since they like complain about not having it so much.
Yeah, I think that is a really good touch.
Yeah, and then you have Hurricane the speedster. She goes around looking for the president and she interrogates Dick Cheney, I think.
Yeah,
literally Dick Cheney.
He's got the snarl.
Yeah, and they're looking for Air Force One, and they're gonna publicly execute all of the heroes that they've captured. The X-Men, Fantastic Four, they're gonna publicly execute them.
And so Black Widow still has Tony at gunpoint, and Tony's blubbering over the dead Jarvis because he's such a good character.
And reading this, I was just like, oh, god damn. Because the whole time, Tony is holding a bottle of champagne that they had from when they were in bed together. And it's like, that's like Chekhov's gun. You don't just like randomly draw a guy in multiple panels holding a bottle of champagne if you're not going to use it.
No, he does use it. He breaks her face afterwards.
I know, but I was just like, I was ready for like him to retaliate somehow. But the twist did get to me.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It comes in later, but after.
Yeah.
It's a fake setup. It's a fake setup. Yeah, that's really good. Mark Millar actually does some decent writing in this fucking story arc, which is why I think it's his best fucking work.
This couldn't have been him.
I fucking Ghost Rider must have come in at some point.
No, this could be. He's not like beyond this.
He never has anything clever.
Wait, I don't think Ghost Rider is in this book.
You mean Knight Rider?
Nighthawk.
Anyway, well, it's revealed like as Tony's walking downstairs, I expected him to bash her with the champagne, but instead it's the nanites they put in her to help her to control Iron Man, that he can control them too, and so he pretty much just
it's pretty brutal because he's like, I'm pretty cynical and I just had to have control. And I'm like, it's pretty crazy that you're like, I'm in love with her, I want to marry her, but I can control her body with my mind.
5,000 failed relationships can make a man a little cynical,
This is Mark Millar speaking through.
And then he downloads everything from her brain, and then he smashes her with the bottle.
And this is more of the anime. This is more of the anime shit because the whole time she's like, "You fucking dumb American, I got you." And then he fucking owns her. She's like, "Please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me." And he just smashes her in the face. But I do like this twist a lot. It makes perfect fucking sense because the movie, like they want to make Black Widow into a hero in the movies, but that completely skips over her. They completely skip over the fact that she is a fucking spy. And this twist makes perfect sense because she's like, "Fuck America, I'm a Russian. You guys fuck over my
I just
country."
think it's the obvious twist.
Yeah, but that's what makes it good.
That's what makes it good. It's not afraid to go for what makes sense. I
guess.
What I didn't like is that as they're walking downstairs, she reveals that she did this because she apparently wants some of his money.
She wants it. What do spies always want? They want it for themselves.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I feel like you never see any leisurely time. Like, what does Black Widow do with money? All it seems like she does is spy work. Whereas at least with Hawkeye, you get to see like the family. So you're like, he has things he cares about outside of work. And then here it's like, there's hundreds of billions of dollars in those offshore accounts that I want into my Swiss account, Tony.
But they show her lounging of Tony this whole entire fucking...
To get his money to do what?
And I think too, she's primarily doing it to say you destroyed Russia. My country is now hookers and gangsters.
But then why add the additional thing of like, I also just want millions of dollars.
You're gonna die, and I'm gonna take your money.
Yeah, she says she's not taking money from any of the liberators. She did everything until now for free. So now she did all this for free. Now she got Tony what she wants. So why not take his money? Just for payment for doing all this shit.
And the thing that I have, and I'm really torn on this, I don't know if I necessarily don't like it or think it like is what he's going for, is like Tony's still supposed to be our hero. And like this is like a cool gotcha moment, and like he's like, come on, let's get to my shop. We've got work to do. And like I understand narratively. But then like I also have to buy into that arc hero that we're rooting for. When he dates a girl, he puts in nanomachines that control her entire body, and he specifically says that like later on throughout the story, he didn't really suspect her. He was really in love with her. He had his heart broken. Like he was really going to marry her. And like, that's just, I don't know if I really am comfortable rooting for that.
Maybe that's why you're having trouble, because I already stopped the idea of them being heroes like in Ultimates 1, like page 1. I'm viewing this as like the Authority or like the Boys. Like, they're heroes, they're protagonists in that sense. Like,
see, that's very fair. That's why like I really like Mark Millar's Authority run versus this, and it's very similar. I think you really hit the nail on the head with that.
That's why Sly loves it. It turned into anime Authority.
No, but that's why I like it, because once I let go, I let go of the fact that it's the heroes I want it to be. Like,
see, I can't when people still like root for them, like in the comments of this website, like that they still.
But you
root
can't think
for
that they're still.
these guys.
You can't still think that they are better than the alternative, like of what's going on.
I guess. No, that's why I'm having a hard time with it.
This is happening to America. Would you be like, fuck Iron Man, he did that, so he was doing that to his girlfriends? No, you'll be like, we are being invaded. Iron Man, save me.
It's also not like it's either one or the other. Like both are bad. You don't want either.
That's why I'm torn with it too, because like it also, I would be curious on what like Millar's plans were with this, because like he leaves this franchise after this, and like other writers build a universe off of this stuff. So, and like they try to like get rid of the critique and make them more just like different versions of the heroes. So I wonder.
To be fair, he does come back after Loeb fucks up his shit.
Yeah,
and so I think, and a lot of it seems to set up, it is becoming more traditional hero after this. I think that was always the plan, and
but
I think that is undermined by all the shit before. If it kept being edgelord stuff, it will make more sense.
I think that's very fair, because I'm comparing it to like his Ultimate Avengers, where like Captain America is just kind of just like a slightly more nasty Captain America, and like same thing, like Iron Man is still like a heroic Iron Man. He's just snarkier, and like I can't view this story in a bubble, because like I like the critique, but what is Millar's end game? And for the rest of the fight, I feel like we're supposed to root for these people,
yes,
and be like gung ho about it, and like I'm not.
I am gung ho, but in the same sense, I'm gung ho for when they're 40 fucks up somebody's shit.
Yeah,
That's
which
very
makes
fair.
sense.
That's a very fair point.
Well, I'm way more closer to Ryan, where it's like, again, you set up almost all these issues being like, aren't the Ultimates assholes? And then you twist it by being like, look at these bigger assholes that emerge out of nowhere and knock down the Statue of Liberty. Oh, aren't they the worst creeps?
But I think it's actually because that's why I like this better than the movie, because there's still villains that have very reasonable motivations.
Yeah.
Their motivations make perfect sense. These are the type of enemies that Avengers will fight, like the Ultimates will fight if they were existed in the real world. They will fight the other governments rising up to fight them. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I say this is better than the movie, because the movie stripped off a lot of the flavor from these final action scenes. Like, it made it just a faceless army versus the Avengers, and this is what I wanted from the movie. Villains with some flavor to them.
See, I guess that's like where we disagree, because I like the movie way better because I felt like an emotional response when our heroes won, where here I was like, okay, they win.
Yeah, I didn't expect Sly to be arguing for more of the edgelord case, which is like the one that I like more usually.
Yeah, but like I'm not necessarily saying that like you're wrong to believe that way at all, but like I do agree with Darryl that I find these books more interesting when our heroes are the villains, you know?
Yeah, because speaking of, then we get this next scene, which is just like
This is my least
so exaggerated, because it's like the Doctor, it goes back to Hawkeye sitting in the chair, and it's like, remember this guy, Hawkeye? Well, no big deal, because he remembers you. And it's the guy with the scar on his face, and this guy's like, again, because everyone just has to be an asshole, he's like, you're lucky that your wife was dead before I got there, because I would have done worse things to her. and then suddenly
Spoilers, I like the scene. It's the only scene I like of Hawkeye in it.
you see this guy fall over, and you see Hawkeye's finger come out. As soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh my god, I've heard about this, because I've heard how dumb this is when they talk about Hawkeye's powers. And suddenly, he starts flicking his fingers, and all these people are going down and dying. You're like, what's happening? And then you see his bloody stump on his finger, and the Doctor's like, what? And Hawkeye shouts, shouldn't have left me with my fingernails, dummy!
I like the scene. I'll defend it because it's overall it's fucking like Mark Millar kind of stuff. But I like it because it at least has some degree of cleverness to it. They put in this guy who is supposed to be deadly with any weapon in a room, and it seems like he's hopeless. And they use something that you wouldn't expect to use. Like it's fucking fingernails.
That's not how fingernails work.
But, like, if you have that idea that his he could have set it up better. That's the one biggest flaw. This is like the most over the top thing he's done so far. This shouldn't be the most over the top.
That's why I kind of was like okay with it, because this was so extremely stupid, and plus we've also seen that he can throw spoons through people. So I'm like, why does he have enough force to flick a fingernail through a man's
Or like
throat?
he might as well just spit. He might as well use his spit.
Yeah.
Then. Like anything
This
can
is
work.
why this is why it's done for Hawkeye, because then why would Hawkeye? People could argue Hawkeye should use a gun, but if he could do this, he shouldn't even use a fucking gun. He should just fucking carry spoons everywhere.
Yeah, but in Sly's defense here, this is the most anime scene ever, because the guy's like, he's like, if you don't let me go, the next fingernail goes right between your eyes. He's like, but you'll kill me. He's like, I'll kill you if you don't. So the guy unties him, and then he's like, what happens now? And Hawkeye snaps his neck.
Says, what do you think?
Yeah, and then a bunch of guys surround him with guns. They're like, drop it. If you even touch that gun, you're dead meat. And Hawkeye goes, idiots, you guys are dead already. And then it just cuts to like another scene, and then it cuts back, and all those guys are dead.
I will say that's part bullshit, because it's again what people pointing a gun at his face, and somebody doesn't die. Like,
Look, flicking fingernails? Okay, that's fine. A guy pointing a gun at another man? He would be dead.
No, my defense. No.
No, it's true, because not that they say if you touch the gun, you're dead meat. They say if he touches the gun, we're dead meat. Fire. They say shoot, but instead of shooting, they let him take time to say, idiots, you guys are dead already. And then they go, ...
And also, the fingernail thing requires some setup and it's like a setup and like some sense of cleverness. They cut away from the scene. They don't show you how he accomplishes it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just cheating. This is just
easy.
bullshit
He just
cheating.
shoots everyone. It's like every other comic panel where a bunch of people are shooting at one guy and they miss him somehow.
Yeah, so that's not cleverness or anything at all. There's no setup or anything. That's just Mark Millar cheating.
It's not
again.
clever, but I just like after the fingernail stuff. That was at a point where I'm like, whatever. This comic can go wherever it wants. I'm along for the ride now. It's like Harley Quinn beating Booster. I'm like, all right, you got it. I'm in. Like whatever you want to do, I'll take as the word of God.
Even if you find the fingernails dumb, it's at least interesting. Him just I kill these guys. It's not interesting. It's not even fucking interesting.
I agree.
So anyway, it cuts back to the Triskelion, where Captain America is like tied up to this machine, and this scene I almost really like, and then it's again ruined by some dumb punchline page, where the Wasp shows up and they grab her and they're like, oh, you're useless. You're just the Wasp. And she's like, what are you talking about? Because they're like, you can't help Captain America. And she's like, I released Cap from the machine 5 minutes ago. And then the full page is Cap holding his fist at them. And he says, get the hell away from my girlfriend. That's like such a 13-year-old page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
I do like how they set it up though, because it's not just like Ozymandias like.
Oh no, I like the setup a lot
because like the nice Ozymandias like I did it already. You suckers. It is like. What are you talking about, you idiots? I already did it. Like, because they're acting smug about it. But she acts like, why wouldn't I have done it already? Like, why would I be here if I didn't do it already? Like, I like this. I like how she acts like they're the idiots in this scenario for thinking she didn't do it.
Yeah, and it's also a bait and switch where Wasp is like useless again, and then she's like, no, like I did the stealth thing and saved my partner. But you do get a weird scene where a guy's holding Wasp in her hand and then just punching his own hand with her in it, and it's like that's just weird, but okay.
Yeah. So then next issue cuts to Loki, Thor in his containment center being like, Odin, why have you forsaken me? And then all of a sudden light flashes into his cell. It cuts to Captain America being the shit out of all the multiple man ripoffs. And then here's a dumb scene where they got Wasp hostage. They give her time to say this. You know that thing they do? That sting when I'm 500 times smaller? I want you to get hers on both sides. Why won't you just punch her and knock her out while she's saying this instead of letting her just zap them all?
Why didn't she use that earlier?
Yeah, why shouldn't you let her? Yeah, that's just dumb. But they go to free Thor, but he's missing. And then it cuts to Air Force One, and George W. Bush is being attacked by the Thor knockoff.
Laura!
Yeah, George screams for his wife.
And Captain Dynamo's like, don't worry, you're not going to die for hours yet.
I think this Crimson Dynamo was Chinese, right? It's like this is like a mix of all America's enemies in one spot.
Oh, he's Russian and I don't know. I think he's Chinese one in this one though. Yeah, you think you're right. So, yeah,
good twist.
Yeah, so then they go to Cap and Wasp go to the White House, and they're like, "We gotta go fight through all these people." But turns out Hawkeye got there first.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Room secure, guys." And then you might think, "Oh, this is Hawkeye doing something," but then more guys come in anyway. So this reveal...
also all these guys have guns, and they're all like they're super soldiers that can fly. And he has a bow and arrow. I get that he's good with a bow and arrow, but in close range combat, I feel like it's just not fast enough.
It's not. It is definitely not fast enough.
It's also like he could have a bunch of throwing knives better than a bow, right? Like he can fire them faster. Ideally.
Yeah, like it makes no sense. It shouldn't be bullseye. It makes no sense.
Honestly, if you can kill people with fingernails, like Sly was saying, you need just very rapid fire, like little, like
little tiny like pellets or something.
Yeah.
One touch that I like, he does have band-aids on all his fingers now. Good artistic consistency.
I like this.
Yeah,
that's good.
This is great.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, logically it makes no sense to like plot-wise. It's pointless because more guys come in and fight him anyway. They beat the shit out of Hawkeye. So okay, good job, Hawkeye. You stopped that wave. So then Iron Man's like, I'm out of here, and they're like, where are you going? Iron Man's like, I gotta go to space. Bye, guys.
I love this too. He's like, obviously I have a space Iron Man. See ya.
Yeah.
Prepare to activate Iron Man 6.
Yeah, and this is why I mean like anime. Like Iron Man's literally going to space to getting into his Gurren in giant space Iron Man suit.
Why wouldn't you do this?
Yeah, and so then they're fighting all the new next wave of people in the White House.
I have a question because now Hank Pym is here, and if this other person controls huge swarms of all kinds of bugs, why is Hank Pym here?
Because to control Ultron, basically.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's enough.
Again, like the Ant-Man stuff never comes into play again. He's basically here just because he made robots, and it's funny how pathetic he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're beating the grunts, but all of a sudden the Liberators show up and start beating the shit out of the Ultimates in the White House, and Abomination is beating the shit out of Captain America. But then the Red Captain America comes in and says, "Oh, he's mine. I got my Darth Maul lightsaber just for this occasion."
So, okay, one thing I don't get is he said I've waited half my life to rip that star from your chest. Doesn't he only hate him from like
2 months ago?
I didn't get that. He's like a buff adult man. It seems like he forgot. Mark Millar forgot he's not actually like older. He is still that same boy from a week ago.
Yeah, that's what's weird. Is like even if you take it that he hated the image of Captain America for so long, I'm like, didn't most people thought he was dead for a long time?
But
like,
I think in this,
they've only been around for a year. The Ultimates as a police force.
Yeah, that makes
so.
Sense.
This guy's 2 years old. He looks great.
Okay.
So yeah, then he's like, I want to fight Captain America personally, so I can have we can have a literal like lightsaber duel.
Yeah, he's like 1v1 me noob.
Yeah,
it's literally the fucking Qui-Gon Jinn like Darth Maul fight at the end of.
Which it's funny because like Hawkeye even calls him Darth Maul in a later issue, so it's like clearly Millar knew what he was doing. He just didn't care.
And I forgot that Bruce Banner shows up. It's basically at the end of Avengers.
Well, one touch I just want to make throughout this. Every time it cuts to Hank Pym, he's like, trying to be like a little bit like he's really like Weasley on the sidelines, but he's never actively like helping the villains. He's like always calling the Ultrons to just be on like crowd control and just on peacekeeping.
Yeah.
Like he's not, even though that like he's pathetic, he's not like an active villain in this story.
No.
He gave them the codes.
Yeah,
They also say
he's a villain.
they also say that the EU.
No, but you know, like what I mean is like he's not like in there killing people.
He's not attacking the Ultimates.
Okay, yeah, but they also said that the EU can't intervene because they have America's nuclear arsenal. And I
No,
think
they got those
codes.
from Hawkeye.
Oh yeah. you're
Remember
right.
they like
Why
interrogated
would Hawkeye
him?
have the fucking nuclear codes? God damn.
Because Hawkeye's the best soldier in the world.
Goddamn operational security.
You always give it to your soldiers. Don't
yeah,
you know the nuclear launch codes, Phil?
So it's setting up a bunch of anime fights. Like Bruce Banner comes to like save his country, even though he's a monster, mass murderer. I gotta fight for my country. So he shows up at the end of the second Avengers. He goes like he gets stomped by.
Yeah, big robot steps on him, and then a woman goes, "Oh my God, look, he's still alive!" And then you have like him lifting up the foot of the robot, a double-page spread.
Yeah, then he goes to fight the Abomination. Abomination is like, I'm
Oh my
smarter than
God.
you.
This
I'm
is
stronger
such a
than you.
great fight, and if you disagree, fuck you.
I agree. It's so anime.
We're already in the next issue already, right? This fight goes fast. Just keep going.
All right. So let me just describe this fight. The Abomination and the Hulk are fighting, and they're both big green men who hit each other, except, the Hulk gets stupid, and the Abomination doesn't. And so they're just beating each other with, like, robots and stuff. And as the fight continues, the Hulk is just smashing him.
First Abomination is like, you have no chance. I'm smarter than you. I'm bigger than you.
I still have my genius intellect, Dr. Banner. In other words, you're screwed.
And as the fight goes on, the Hulk starts to beat him, and he's like, "What's the square root of 6,211,000? What's the capital of Texas? How many legs has spiders got?" Can you tell Hulk the formula for Coca-Cola? And then the Abomination's like, "Christ, man, please help!" And he's like, not so clever now."
And he's like, and when he fucking kills him, he's like, what your problem is? You think too much.
Yeah, and we have a lot of these matchup fights. Like Quicksilver grabs Hurricane and runs so fast that her body turns to jelly.
Oh, that's pretty great,
But
too.
it's like very again, it's a very anime because she's like,
Yes.
I can match your speed, and he's like, I've been immune my entire life. I had speed my entire life.
Yeah.
Let's see how fast I can go.
Yeah,
He runs
Mach
so fast,
2?
her-
Mach 5? Try and handle this, kid.
He runs so fast, her flesh like fucking rips off.
Disintegrates.
He's like, "You feel your molecules rumbling? That's the molecules dancing, like you're riding on a freight train." And it's pretty great because it's like you have to assume she was Syrian, right? So they have some Syrian lab testing her. Probably like, how fast can you actually test? How like you're trying to test a speedster? So you go faster than any plane's ever been, but like
You're gonna need a cosmic treadmill, you know?
yeah, you have this guy who's been like not just a mutant, but like
From birth.
working for the military for his whole life. Of course, he's gonna outrun her.
Yeah, so like we keep seeing these matchups. We also see the Swarm is going after Janet, and she's like, "No, don't worry, I got this." She injects herself with something Hank gave her and lets her grow real big. As Sly pointed out earlier, she keeps her clothes on, so okay. And she squashes her.
And they have sexist unsealed molecules in her clothes. Only if you're a woman do your clothes stay.
Yeah.
So she steps on there, and also all the super soldiers of the country show up as Captain Britain show up as reinforcements. Eventually, the X-Men and like the Fantastic Four come into the fight.
Yeah, Iron Man shows up with his giant spaceship-sized Iron Man.
Before
6.
Iron Man shows up, Crimson Dynamo's like, "You know what? We're losing. Change of plan. Kill everyone. It's a suicide mission.
Suicide mission.
Yeah, we're trying to inflict casualties before we lose."
But then he gets killed by giant ladies from the sky, and it's Space Iron Man. Hey guys, and it's just
This is so
giant
great. I do see why I like this. Okay.
a giant fucking Space Iron Man mech.
Yeah, and this is when Hulk finally beats Abomination.
Iron Man's like, "Oh, now we're going to reveal we infiltrated the Liberators," and the Ocean Robots are like, "Are you serious? Like we were helping them? Like no, we were infiltrating them. Hey, let's help the civilians."
Yeah, even like the robots even are like, "Really, Hank Pym? This is your move?" And he's like, "Yes, we were on their side the whole time."
Yeah. Stop. Go Ultrons. Fight the terrorists, and they just start punching the super soldiers.
And then one thing that I like here is Captain America finally like smashes the Darth Maul lightsaber that the head Liberator guy was using, and then right when you think he's beaten, he has the Liberator guy has all of his like his army attack Steve, and he's like, "I wanted to do this noble in 1v1, but like I'm not an idiot. I'm not just gonna lose."
Yeah. After you did everything to the people I loved, like I'm not gonna just walk away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then he has like, somebody help me, and Hulk just like throws his Captain America shield at the guy's arms and cuts his arms off.
Yeah, he cuts his hands off with his shield. He throws him into the water in front of the Washington Monument, takes his lightsaber thing, and drives it right through his chest.
Yeah, and before he dies, the evil Captain America says, "Is this where you crack a joke? Is this where you finish me with the witty barb?" And then Captain America drives the blade through him and says, "No jokes, Abdul," which is like weird, like, are you trying to combat when you said this? Do you think this A stands for France? Like,
But not only that, but the line that you skipped, Darryl, is he says, "Is this where you finish me with a witty barb? My God, do you even appreciate why we did this thing?" And Captain America just kills him. And it's like, I feel like Mark Millar's like, hey, do you remember that they had a noble purpose?
Yeah.
That, like, American imperialism? Nope, doesn't matter.
I felt the opposite. I felt like that's what I viewed it as, I'm not gonna make a clip now because this is a serious matter. Like, this is
yeah,
not-
actually, it's like,
Oh, okay. I
since
can
you
see
brought that up, Ryan, I saw Slide's point where I was like, oh, okay, he's trying to give some honor to their point
Yeah.
that they were fighting for a noble cause.
It's literally the only time Captain America doesn't say "you're nuts" and "you're sucking my nuts" or whatever. He's
That
like-
makes sense. No,
it's
that makes sense.
And then I do like this splash page of the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, all just fighting for New York. Again, attacking Manhattan is such a goddamn nightmare in this universe because there's like 9,000 superheroes.
No, the issue ends with up in the sky. Loki's like, well, I can't use my powers because my father will find me, but whatever, I'm going to use my powers now because I'm in
Right.
it for chaos.
They say that earlier, like he's only ever used his powers very subtly because Odin will find him. And then, like Darryl said, he's just like, fuck it, I'm going all out. And then at the end, Thor shows up saying, looking for trouble, Loki?
Yes.
And next issue opens with Loki using his fucking chaos magic. And this is why I like it better than Avengers.
This is such a great scene.
This is cool.
So Thor's in the mental hospital, and he's like, "Get away from me, get away!" And Loki's like, "Oh, don't hurt my brother. He's just unwell." And Thor's like, "It's not about illusions, Loki. I can see the fucking rain. You're wet. Your illusions fading. Your powers are fading. Like now we're gonna fight for real."
Yeah, it's cool because like it's literally like Inception or something where you see like the dream breaking down where he's wet and then he's like, I can hear the warplanes passing overhead. And why are you soaking wet if we're still in this dream? And why am I still holding this hammer?
And then now they're back in the fucking Washington D.C. fighting the final fight. And Loki now starts warping reality, starts sending Nordic creatures to go fight Thor.
Yeah, so now they're attacked by dragons, they're attacked by giants, trolls, dire wolves, all
This is why I like this better than Avengers, because this shows Loki's flavor. He's not just, I'm a charismatic guy as part of this army who has this magic cube. I'm using my illusionist powers to set this up, and now I'm sending Norse creatures down to fight you. This has so much more flavor to it.
And it's like all the famous like Norse creatures.
Yeah.
too.
But they're
So
in like leather bondage gear, but you know, that's okay.
That's what you wore.
And then the goblin armies show up. The direwolves are literally eating people by the Washington Monument, and the trolls show up. And then Thor is like, "Did you think I came alone?" And then we get the fucking Rainbow Bridge show up, and the armies of Asgard pour out of the Rainbow Bridge. And is this Hawkeye who's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for doubting you." Thor."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
yeah.
And we get this.
Obviously, Hawkeye, the biggest, most notable doubter, not fucking
Okay,
Tony.
so now we get a splash page that you guys read this digitally, so it's not going to have the same effect.
Yeah.
But I'm unfolding it. It is a 8-page splash page.
Really?
That is a pain in the ass to open in my book.
That's cool though. 'Cause
It
it's
is
a
very
cool
cool.
picture. Yeah.
And it's basically that, you know, the shot in the Avengers movie when they pan over every single character? It's basically like that, where you get what every single person's doing in one huge wide shot. And this whole thing is pretty cool. But the thing that I like the most about it is in every single page, you see Quicksilver doing something. And I think that is a really cool way to show a speedster in battle.
Yeah.
It's like every single scene he's involved in a little bit at the same time.
Yep.
Also, I think it's cooler because instead of just fighting a faceless alien army, it's Norse armies of Asgard fighting Norse creatures of legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then Loki's like, I was so clever, though, with my tricks. Norway's not even in the European Union. Come on.
That was a good guy.
And I was like, that's pretty good.
He's saying as desperate pleading as he's getting beaten, saying, "Please, can you see the funny side of this, Thor?" And Thor's like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, Loki." Thor, our dad wants a word as he zaps him with his hammer and sends him away, presumably to Asgard.
Send him to hell.
Yeah. Now, it's Norse, so that's hell with one L, right, Daryl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Helheim.
Ruled by Hela.
Yes.
So they win. America is freed. Oh, the governments of these countries, like Putin is like, we were not involved there. China was like, us either. This is all, terrorists. And Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, is like, let's not retaliate against these countries.
Yeah, what a dated book. You have Vladimir Putin as leader of Russia, Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, you have your questioning whether America should be intervening in other countries, like how.
Yeah.
So one other thing to point out is like Hank Pym is like, oh, I helped you guys, and then Captain America's like, fuck y'all, if you know you fucking betrayed us, and then they end up putting him in the fucking cell they put in his banner before. Also, Wanda goes up to Vision's like, you wanna go out sometime?
Yeah. Also, we get the exact same scene from Cry for Justice with Hawkeye.
Yeah.
When Hawkeye goes to visit Natasha in the hospital, not visit, and she goes to run, and he shoots arrows and pins her against the wall, and she's like, got a message for the wife and kids, Hawkeye, anything you'd like me to pass along? And he's like, won't see them where you're going, and he just shoots an arrow through her chest, and he tells her to burn in hell as she dies.
I don't like the scene because it's redundant. You had to have both characters getting their revenge, Tony and her. Like, how would she get away from Tony if he has it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
No, she says she slit her own wrists to bleed out her nanomachines. That's great.
It's so far-fetched. It's just for this one scene where Hawkeye.
I
know, but it's just only for this one final murder scene.
That's great. Fuck you.
I don't know. I feel like if it was written better, it's not written well enough to warrant it. It's just he just shoots her in the head. I don't know. It's not.
But anyway, as Phil was saying, that Captain America says that the Ultimates are quitting the American government and are going to be an independent organization.
Which is cool too.
They get a scene of Tony Stark where he talks to Pepper Potts about
I'll never get over her.
He's so broken, I'll never get over her. And he sees a hot girl saying, no, I'm going to go bone that girl instead.
He's crying, and then he's like, yo, you'll never underestimate the healing power of a blonde, Miss Potts.
Yeah, and it's just I always have a problem where, whenever you lose a spouse, there's betrayal that happens where it's you traditionally, the more honorable thing to do is to do the revenge fantasy and you kill them and then you just hold it in, which is why I like that. I thought both Hawkeye and Tony were never gonna cry and they're never gonna say anything about their family because it's that's a man's burden to bear. But I like that he breaks down and he talks to her, but then what he says about her, why he was sad, is first he brings up that he dumped Christina by email, Brittany by skywriting, and breaking poor Jennifer's heart just 2 weeks after what's his name walked out. But Natasha was different. She could drink like a fish and was up for doing things I'd never even seen in that year I took off just to browse the internet. And he says she was like me with magnificent breasts, and that's always been one of my fantasies.
And he's crying.
Yeah, and he sees a blonde girl and runs
down. He's crying while he says she's me with magnificent breasts.
But would Tony Stark not do this?
That's the joke.
This gets back into where how Ryan was saying, where it's I can't root for anyone in this story, because especially as this is the climax to Tony being seduced and betrayed, is his reaction is man, I finally found someone that's like me but has tits.
Yeah, it's weird.
I like to see it because it's you guys, it was a bait and switch. It's supposed to be a character development moment, but no, it's just a setup for a joke, and I thought it was funny.
But I hate that.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, so it ends anyway. It ends with Hank.
It ends with a flashback to.
Well, first Hank Pym's in jail, and he makes the joke do we all have to spend time in the cell?
And then Janet goes to see him. And then it's a flashback with Steve Rogers with Gale when they're in the 40s, and he's about to go off to war tomorrow. And it's just them having a nice time going out to the movies and stuff, and they don't have a lot of money.
But we have a scene with a woman, so someone has to call her a fat elephant. But this time it's Gale who calls herself a fat elephant.
Thanks,
and
Mark.
I think this flashback is kind of pointless. I don't hate the existence flashback, but why at the end of the story?
That's
true.
Yeah, that was one of those things where I was really trying to think. It's what are you trying to prove or say?
Well, I think it's supposed to frame it that Cap is our big hero, and I don't feel that's the lesson we're supposed to get from the book.
No, the truth here is Mark Millar did this because he needed to cuck Bucky eventually, and he couldn't do it in the present time, present day.
Okay.
Which I especially like because they said we finally got rid of Bucky. Thank God! He stopped, left me alone so I could bang you.
Yeah, so overall, I like the story. I think the Avengers movie sucked a lot of the flavor out of it. In its defense, it chose the character development over the great set pieces and the great themes. But so people might say it's a better move, but I wish they could have used more of Loki's cleverness in the movie and more of.
That's very fair.
I hated
well,
the Asgard stuff, honestly.
I love that
Really?
stuff. I thought
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Because think about it, in the first half, you have like you're setting up the Avengers as the thing, it's the main villains, and then later on, it's like, oh, here's mythological Norse monsters that you fight. It felt the same thing as the space Nazis, where it's just
No,
like
it's not.
this
I
wasn't
disagree.
who I sat down to watch.
I disagree. After 2 volumes of questioning whether Thor was Norse or not, I think that's a great payoff to have the little creature from Norse mythology fight and Norse army goes to fight. It gets revealed in the most bombastic way possible. It wasn't any questions about it. It was it all exists. Fuck you, Avengers. You were wrong the entire time. I thought that was perfect.
I
Yeah,
agree.
which is
that,
why I got back to that thing where I was like, it should have just been like a good like, oh, is it real or is it not? Because it did it like it concluded it in such a over the top way.
And that's why I wish we had your on tape saying, oh, we should go one way or another. Oh, I hate what I said before. I'm Darryl. I can't agree on anything.
I agree that if you're gonna make Loki the villain, it makes more sense to have the climax have a bunch of Asgard stuff in it instead of like just aliens. But I found the Liberators to be much more engaging, and then they don't really amount to anything. They're kind of just like they all just get beaten by their counterparts, and I don't know.
But it's still better than them fighting faceless enemies for me. Like at least they set them up and then they're like, we're better than you, and then they're like, no, you're not. Like we've been doing this for years.
Yeah, which is again what would probably happen when you're like, somehow we're gonna match the American military overnight, and they're strong and they have a great first strike, but in the end they lose.
That makes sense. Overall, I definitely would not say I like this more than the Avengers movie, but I understand your points.
I like this more than anything we've ever read.
Really?
No. I did like it a lot though.
So
I'm glad at least I'm not a freak.
overall, I think.
Well, you're still a freak.
Okay.
Overall, I think it's better than Ultimates 1, for sure. But I think I have the same thing that I had with Ultimates 1, that I think the first half is just... I like it a lot more than the second half.
I think both Ultimates 1 and 2 are bad enough that I don't have a preference one way or the other.
Oh, it says the guy who fucking loves Nemesis. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, Darryl.
It's because Nemesis doesn't pull you in being like, is this realistic or not? It starts with a guy being run over by a train that Nemesis planned. It's like, okay. Where are the Asgard like armies in the first issue? They're not there, and then it ends with it.
But I am really glad. Like I think this is the first story we've been divided in. It's a comic story that Ryan hates.
I don't hate it.
But doesn't like so it's we're divided in a way we've never been divided before. It's a comic fan and non-comic fans taking one side and non-comic fans take the other.
Truly a divisive issue.
Yeah, we've always had Ryan take like every comic we've done so far when Phil and I liked it. This is the first time Ryan.
It's very rare I'm on the...
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm on the split decision.
It's Ryan and me aligned against you and Sly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a very unique spirit. So I think that says something about the story.
Yeah.
That about how can appeal and
Look at him try and bolster it up still.
No, not just appeal, but also polarize people. It can appeal to some people and polarize others.
To be honest as well, as I finished this and I felt like a sense of happiness and like joy of reading it, I was like, not only did I enjoy this, I enjoyed it in spite of it being Mark Millar, because the whole time I'm like, this has gotta be shit. It's fucking Mark Millar. This page, it's not that great. I mean, okay, lasers from space. I mean, it's pretty cool, but it's Mark Millar, so like I can't like it. And so I still enjoyed it this much, knowing it was Mark Millar.
The story was so dumb. Like I can't.
If this is an anime, you'll like it. If they were all just like, let's Sektashi, let's go fight the giant space monster, you'd be like, this is cool.
Yeah, because if it starts off being dumb and then it ends being dumb, I'm like, sure.
Yeah, I think all this one already happened. You still had illusions of this being like not dumb at some point.
Because he did the same thing with Ultimate Son, where it's like, this could be a good critique on the American government. And then at the end, the American government just smashes everyone down. They're like, isn't this great? I guess is a critique.
Your expectation, after reading Ultimate 1 and other Mark Millar, you still had expectations of this not...
Or like, what I want to know is like, in your perfect world, does Syria and North Korea take over America? Or do they both kill each other?
I honestly... Before we began like recording today, I was gonna say the issue should have ended after they destroyed America. I'm like, boom, okay, that's a good retribution story. I would have been happy with that.
That's not a Mark Millar Ultimate story.
Rather than like, oh, Captain America's go save the day, and Hawkeye's still alive, and oh, the Hulk's back to smash in this smart person. Look how dumb you are.
But that'd be like an anime, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Gurren Lagann just all died? Oh, like that's like this is the anime build-up. The fucking army wins, and the fucking
which is what I didn't want from reading Ultimates. I hated the Ultimates team enough that I wanted them to lose.
Yeah.
Thor alone is likable enough that Ultimate should win.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
No.
right.
I'll say Thor's likable. Thor should have somehow saved them, maybe, but I don't need to see moments glorifying Captain America.
That I agree with that. That's the thing. That's what made me feel like I don't want
But
this.
Thor is the one that sees him at the end versus Loki, who would have killed them all. When Loki's like, "I'm God now."
Loki shouldn't have been in the story as an actual villain. IMO.
Okay, guys, let's end this.
Okay, anyway.
I haven't eaten in like 12 hours.
So that's it. We've made it another year, another Ultimates, and
You guys have read the story, so tell us what you guys think, because I know a lot of you guys like the story.
Yeah.
Does Ryan and Darryl make compelling points, or are me and Phil dumb, or are we right?
We'll summon the armies of Asgard against each other, and you have to be on our side.
I like that Sly framed it as, do Ryan and Darryl make compelling points, or am I right?
So, everyone let us know. Join our Facebook group, join our Discord, and, hang out with us. Tell us about Mark Millar. Speaking of totally unlikable, murderous scumbags, stranger still on our network, Flying Machine, did an episode on serial killers.
To say about them.
No, they did an episode on serial killers.
Ted Bundy's likable.
Oh.
You fucker.
And you should listen to that and all the other shows, the Flying Machine Network. They did it. We're recording this kind of ahead of time, so it's going to be a couple episodes ago that their serial killer episode, but it's great, and everyone should listen to it. And also back to Patreon and check the YouTube channel for all the Captain Marvel stuff. And yeah, everything is in the show notes and at flyingmachine.network. So anything you guys have to add?
No.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you.
No.
So, thank you for listening to Divisive Issues. I've been completely missing the point on why we're even here.
I've been right, despite Darryl and Ryan making compelling points.
I've been flicking my fingernails into Darryl's balls.
And know what my problem was, ugly scientist? I thought too much.
Stay in continuity.